Today I want to talk about how your brain has two helmets. You have a hard helmet and a soft helmet. The hard helmet is exactly what you think it is, and it's the skull. And if we look on the inside, you can see where it almost looks like rivers have carved into stone. This is from the meningeal arteries pulsating, and the bone forms around it. Now, the soft helmet is this thing. This is called the dura mater, or mater, and it's a meninge that surrounds your brain. So you could think of it as a soft tissue helmet. A question I get asked a lot in the lab is, why would you leave the elbow skin on? And that's because, well, it's not just elbow skin. This was a fluid-filled pouch called a bursa. You see that empty pocket? Inside of there would have been a lubricating fluid that would help the skin glide over the ulna, or the olecranon process underneath. So I want to talk about the different types of intestines you have. You have small intestine, which is all about nutrient absorption. And then you also have large intestine, which is a little hard to see, but that's what this thing is here. You see, the large intestine is going to border your small intestine. I can kind of show you a bit of it here. And the large intestine, or colon, is where you store feces. So your small intestines will absorb nutrients, and then whatever waste you have gets deposited into your large intestine, and it can take days for it to make its way around until it finally is going to leave. You see, this is called your sigmoid colon, and it turns into the rectum. So the difference is the small intestine is about nutrient absorption, but your large intestine, or colon, is about feces storing and water removal. I want to show you what cancer looks like in the human body. This discoloration here is cancer that had spread and metastasized to the liver. See, anywhere you see these discolorations is going to be cancer. You can see another one right there. But what's really crazy is if I lift it up, you can even see it on the underside of the liver. Those are all cancerous nodules. What you're looking at here is called an inguinal hernia. You see this bulgy thing? It shouldn't exist. It's not on the other side. This is likely filled with intestines or fat that have pushed outwardly into a place where it's not supposed to be. You see, that's what a hernia is. A hernia is where something goes where it shouldn't. And now if you're interested, we went ahead and filmed a YouTube video that discussed other possible locations of hernias. So why don't you head on over to our YouTube and check it out. Let's talk about a pacemaker. You see this wire here? This is called a lead. This would be attached to a pulse generator that would be placed on the outside of your pecs, and it sends an electrical signal that would go down this lead into that right atrium, and we can even see where it ends down here at the base of the heart. Now, the reason you'd need a pacemaker like this is if the heart was unable to contract on its own. The heart normally will beat on its own without any input from the brain, but if the natural conductive pathway breaks down, that's when you need a pacemaker. So what you're looking at here is the stomach that has been dissected so we can see this bottom portion of the stomach called the pylorus, and what I'm squeezing right here is called the pyloric sphincter, and it's extremely tough. It's one of the strongest sphincters in the body, and that's because the job of that sphincter is to prevent the stomach acid that's inside of this stomach from prematurely going down into the intestines and digesting them.
This is a great question, and the honest answer is that every single different kink or fetish is going to have a totally different psychological or biological reasoning behind it. But speaking specifically about foot fetishes, here's everything you need to know. I broke out a couple of my old neuroscience textbooks and this model brain to show you what's up. See these wrinkles all over the brain? The big noodles are called gyri, and the spaces between the noodles are called sulci. And if you look right here, you'll see one big sulcus that runs all the way down through the brain. That's called your central sulcus. And right behind it, this post-central gyrus contains your somatosensory cortex, which you can see lit up here in green. This is where you feel things. Now, if you were to slice this brain right down that central sulcus, you could map out on that somatosensory cortex where you feel everything on your brain. And right here in the middle, you can see that your feet and your toes are right next to your genitals on your brain. It's so easy for these wires to get crossed because they're literally bumping up against each other, and that's why foot fetishes are the most common fetishes in the entire world.
Pares craneales en 40 segundos. En primer lugar encontramos al nervio olfatorio. En segundo, al nervio óptico. En tercero, al nervio oculomotor. En cuarto, al nervio troclear. En quinto, al nervio trigemino, que se divide en 3 ramas, una oftálmica, una maxilar y una mandibular. En sexto, al nervio abducens, que está solito entre medio. Luego encontramos a 3 nervios que están cerquita, el nervio facial, el vestíbulo coclear y el glosofaringeo, seguidos del 10º, que es el vago. Luego en el número 11 encontramos al nervio accesorio, que tiene estas especies como de ramitas. Y por último, en el número 12 encontramos al nervio hipogloso.
You're looking at the back of the thigh at a group of muscles called the hamstrings. Now there are 3 of them, and the most lateral hamstring is called biceps femoris. The most intermediate, or the one in the middle, is called semitendinosus, and you can actually see that it has a very long tendon here. And then the most medial, but it also does swing in towards the middle here, hamstring is called semimembranosus. But running between them is a nerve called the sciatic nerve. Now, the sciatic nerve is actually 2 different nerves bundled together, and it splits in the back of your knee to become those separate nerves. This one here is called the tibial nerve, and then this one here is called the common peroneal nerve.